the way. And just tell somebody this morning, move. Get out the way. Tell somebody on the other side of you need to move and get out the way.
Get out the way.
And if I take my concentration, it comes from verse 1. It says, blessed is the man that walks not in the counsel of the ungodly, nor standeth in the way of sinners, nor standeth in the way. As I talk to you this morning, I don't have a lot of time. I don't have my watch on, so I need somebody to really help me keep the time on this morning. But as I talk to you for just the next couple of minutes, many of us get in trouble in our lives simply because we are in the way. Amen. Lord have mercy. Right. You can be in the wrong place at the wrong time, but you can simply be in the way. If you get in the wrong way, sometimes bad things can happen to you simply because I was in the way. You've all had it happen. You've been riding down the streets and there's been a car behind you that seems to be going real fast and riding up close to you. You wonder what's going on. You pull over and you realize that there's a cop trying to chase them. Now, if you would have stayed in the way, you might have gotten messed up too. Sometimes you have to learn just how to move out the way. When danger or trouble is coming, you've got to learn how to move out the way.
Yes. Amen.
You teach young children that when the light is red, you stop. When the light is green, you walk. But that's not the only thing you do. Just because that light is green don't mean you walk casually down the street looking down at the ground. You still got to look to the left and the right. Because even though the light is green, danger, I hear God right now, can still be approaching. And if you're not careful, danger will grab you simply because you weren't looking. There's some folks that got in danger in their life simply because they weren't looking.
Amen.
They got in danger because they weren't looking. Bad things happened to them simply because they weren't looking. So here now we see in this psalm, and David is talking and he's saying, blessed. If you want to be a blessed person or a blessed man, a blessed woman, these are some things you ought to do. Blessed is the person that walks not in the counsel of the ungodly. I'll stop by to tell you something I've learned in my 36 short years on this earth is that you can't take everybody's advice. I don't care, but I'm stopped by to tell you, you just cannot take everybody's advice. Sometimes you want to give everybody the benefit of the doubt, but I found out you just can't give everybody the benefit of the doubt. Some people give bad advice.
That's right.
And the truth of the matter is, I don't know why we as adults don't realize this, but if they gave you bad advice before, and they gave you bad advice the time before, and if they gave you bad advice last month, and if they gave you bad advice last year, if they gave you bad advice in 2005, if they gave you bad advice in 1997, if they gave you bad advice in 1986 and 2017, guess what? You're going to get bad advice.
That's right.
If you go to the doctor and the doctor tells you you have something and you get upset and you go home and you cry and you call out to the Lord and the doctor said, oops, I made a mistake, that might be okay the first time. But if you go back to the doctor, he said, you didn't have that, you really had something else. But you come back, he said, I made a mistake again. You're not going to keep going to the same doctor because he's giving you bad counsel and bad advice. But somehow we think it's okay to hang around the same folks that keep giving us bad counsel and bad advice. I'm talking now, listen, bad advice just might not be how much flour to put in your cake.
That's right.
Now, but sometimes bad advice might be, see, I found out that there are different type of killers in the world. You have homicide and you have the different type of killers, but there's another killer you ought to be careful for, and that is the dream killer. I'm talking about the ones when you start telling them your dreams and they start assaulting as soon as you tell them you can't do this and you can't do that. You tell them what God has shown you, and they try to assault your dreams. Every time you try to do something good, they try to sway you away from doing the good thing. I'm talking about every time you're having a good day, they try to convince you on how bad the day really is. If you're in a good mood, they suck the mood right out of you. Be very careful.
Amen. Yes.
But blessed is this man that does not walk in the counsel, does not take the advice of the ungodly, nor stands in the way of sinners. We all talked about in the beginning, but you got to be very careful of standing in the way. If you know anything about train tracks, what's the thing they tell you about train tracks? You are not to stand in the train tracks. Well, you know that the train's not coming right now. I stopped by to tell you that if a train was coming, listen, I want you to know this importantly. If a train was coming and the conductor saw you when the train is traveling, they do not have enough time to stop. It takes up to 4 miles sometimes. Especially if they're traveling at a high speed for them to stop. By the time that they stop, they will have already hit you. That's why they tell you to stay off the track. Some folks, oh, I hear God right now. Some folks can't help themselves. You just have to stay out their way. They don't mean to hurt you, but that's their nature. You just got to stay out their way. I've never heard of innocent gossip. I never heard of innocent jealousy. See, those things are, listen to this. This is something. A nice person can do something bad that is bad for you. If a nice person gossips, they're still a nice person, but that gossip is dangerous. Hey, listen, something is dangerous regardless of who's holding it. The gun itself is not dangerous. The gun itself is dangerous. I don't care who's holding it. If you point a gun and shoot, a bullet is going to come out.
Amen.
So you got to be very careful. Who does not stand in the way of sinners, nor sits in the seat of the scornful. I need the time. But his delight is in the law of the Lord. He gets excited, and thank you. He gets excited and happy. Yeah. Thank you, sir. He gets excited and happy about God.
Amen.
God excites him.
Yes. Oh, yes.
If I can just say it like this, they're still living in the honeymoon phase.
All right.
You know that person that just got married? They want to tell everybody just how good that marriage is. Yes. Do you see what she left for me? You see what he left under my pillow? Who's that calling her again? That's her husband, just saying I love you. Didn't he just talk to her an hour ago when they said they're going to call each other every hour, even if they got to hear each other's voice? Oh, you see them just walking to the movies, just shaking hands, just having a date night. They can be sitting at TGI Fridays just staring into each other's eyes. I'm so glad God sent you my way, and I'm so glad that you came this way as well. Just living in the honeymoon phase. They just go to the store and go to the mall together and just shop and walk up and down, just smiling everywhere that they go. If they go to the grocery store, they smile at each other. Everything reminds them of each other. They're living in the honeymoon phase. But somewhere it happens in different cases. Sometimes 6 months later, but sometimes a year later. But the honeymoon phase starts to phase down little at a time. They don't smile at each other the way they used to smile. They don't skip the way they used to skip. They don't call the way they used to call because they're out of the honeymoon phase. It got old to them.
Amen.
All right.
Well, in God, I hear the Lord right now. We need to stay in the honeymoon phase.
All right, Pastor. Amen.
Don't let it get old to you. You got to refresh yourself of his goodness. I know the saying says, when I think of the goodness of Jesus, and we hear that all the time, but there is truth in that saying. Sometimes when you're having a bad day, you got to stop and think of the goodness of Jesus just one more time. Think about how gracious and merciful he's been to you. Think about how he spared your life just one more time. Think about how he didn't let that sickness kill you. Think about just what he's done just one more time. But his delight is in the law, it's in the ways of the Lord. And in his law does he meditate.
Yes. Thank you,
In
Lord.
order to think about something, it has to stay on your mind.
Amen.
In his law does he meditate day and night. Verse 3 says, and he shall be like a tree.
Yes, yes.
Tree is something that's firm, something that stands tall.
Yeah.
You can't easily knock a tree over.
That's right.
There are trees that are hundreds and hundreds and centuries old. And I don't know if you ever had this happen, but if you ever have property and there's a tree that grows by your property, if that tree grows too much, you have to have the town or somebody come and remove it. That foundation will crack your sidewall. It will lean against your house. And if that tree is left unchecked, it can knock your house over because it can get bigger than the house.
Amen. That's right, Pastor. Amen.
A tree can knock over everything around it. A tree knows how to stand.
Yes, Lord.
The branches might fall off, but when it's windy outside, the tree is there. When it's snowing outside, the tree is there. He shall be like a tree planted
Yes.
by the rivers of water. That's another kind of tree that can survive next to water. That tree has to really be planted. That means when the waves come and when the waves start to shake, that tree is still going to stand there. That means I'm going to keep on standing no matter what's happening around me. I'm not just going to fall to the left or fall to the right because of something that happened. This thing that happened to me is not going to make me fall. Tell somebody it's not going to make you fall. It's not going to make me fall. He shall be like a tree planted by the rivers of water that brings forth his fruit in his season.
Yes.
It's nice to have a tree that brings forth some fruit.
Amen.
Not a tree that's just standing there, so he's going to stand firm, but you're going to know the type of tree that it is. They see you standing, they're going to know what I stand for. They're going to know what I mean. He shall be like a tree that planted by the rivers of water, brings forth his fruit in his own season. His leaf shall not wither. This is a real different kind of tree. Because in most trees, the leaves wither during a certain point in the year. When it gets cold outside, the leaves begin to wither. But he said, you're going to be this type of tree that the leaves shall never wither. You shall never grow tired. You shall never grow weary. His leaves shall not wither. But here's the part I like after the semicolon. And whatsoever he doeth.
Yes.
And whatsoever he doeth shall prosper. I've stopped by to tell you this. I don't want to blow your mind too much, but that when you are a blessed person, whatever you do, I'm going to break it down. Whatever you do is going to prosper.
Amen.
Good or bad. Uh-oh.
Hallelujah.
Y'all don't want to hear that one, but I'm going to tell you the truth. If I can just give you an example. The Bible says in the book of Genesis, chapter 11, the Lord said, and behold, the people are one, and they have one language, and this they began to do. Now nothing shall be withheld from them that they have imagined to do. God said, whatsoever you do shall prosper. So you may say, why am I doing bad? You are prospering. Oh, I hear the Lord right now.
Yeah.
If you've been talking negativity into the atmosphere, you are prospering at whatever you do. I hear God right now. If you've been walking around saying, I'm not going to make it, I'm not going to be successful, I'm not going to do anything, you are prospering at what you say. That's why you got to be careful what you say. Be careful talking against yourself. Be careful talking against your success, talking against your health, because he said, whatsoever you do.
Hallelujah. Amen. Anything.
So why am I not doing good? You're prospering at what you put your mind to do.
Amen.
Some of us have been prospering at doing bad.
Amen.
We've been prospering at the wrong thing. Whatsoever you do shall prosper. Not only that, but whatsoever you say, it's going to prosper. You might be wondering, this might sound harsh, but you might be wondering, why is this happening to me? You talked about your sister or your brother just the other day. You sent it out in the atmosphere. Guess what? It came back. It came back. Be careful.
Jesus.
Whatsoever you do shall prosper.
Yes, Lord.
The ungodly are not so. But they're not like the tree, but they're like the chaff, just like the dust, that the wind just blows away. Therefore the ungodly shall not stand in the judgment. I gotta close. Nor sinners in the congregation of the righteous, because the Lord knows the way of the righteous, but the way of the ungodly shall perish. So you got to move, you got to get out the way, but then you got to decide. I hear God as I get ready to close. I want you to take this with you this week. What am I going to prosper at this week? If you've been prospering at just getting by, you've been successful at that.
All right.
If you've been prospering in poverty, then you've been successful in that. But you got to say, what am I now going to prosper? He said this, listen, whatsoever he doeth shall prosper. But can I tell you this? You can't prosper if you don't do. Sometimes we get that part mixed up. We want to prosper, but we don't want to do. He said, whatsoever he doeth. The Bible says faith without works is dead. In other words, there has to be some action behind it.
Amen.
How can you want to prosper at something that you never did? Lord have mercy. You can't excel at something that you never started. You can't excel at something that you never tried. Whatsoever he do, let's all stand. We got to close in the presence of the Lord. Whatsoever he doeth shall prosper. Tell somebody you are blessed.
You are blessed.
Tell one more person you are blessed.
You are blessed. Amen. Yeah. Amen.
Amen. Amen. Hallelujah.
Clap your hands one more time and give the Lord.
Amen.
Whatsoever he doeth